Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host, Dennis Simpson, as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, the award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007 or find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com.
Thanks to Brent, I have now been listening to my wife sing Dead People's Clothes and Dead People's Shoes for over a week and a half now. That's all I hear. And to which I don't want to hear Dead People's Clothes anymore. I've heard it. It was a funny song. But I'm not drinking alone because the dog's home. Now, that one is more my style. For those of you that don't know, this is Brent Barnes and Bill Whyte. Bill's on the left, Brent's on the right here, y'all respectively. They did a concert Thursday, a week ago today, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty spectacular time.
I tell you what, the place was full. Listen, I don't consider myself an entertainer like you guys in any stitch, but I do know how to work with a crowd. Man, you had them in your hand. The people loved you.
It's an older crowd. I was afraid they might be sleeping because I couldn't see the audience.
I was concerned that, I don't know if you know, but there was a doubleheader of Matlock on, and I was afraid that we were going to miss them. I think you guys, I think we could go a long ways together here, guys. Actually, the reason that we're doing something we've never done before, and I don't mean this never, typically when we've got people that come through for concerts or something, we'll interview them. We're one and done. We let them go. We let them live the rest of their lives in peace, Bill. We leave them be. But with you guys, number one, fantastic concert. Funny as it could possibly be. Everybody loved it. Everybody enjoyed it. What a wonderful time. The thing that really came to me that I wanted to know, though, and Bill, we had touched on this in the first show we did, was the music industry. Because I've been listening to one of my favorite songs I've just found off Old Dominion, okay? Bunch of good looking, about my age kind of guys.
Right, same as us.
I appreciate that, gentlemen, yeah.
The only thing about Dominion that worked for me and Brent is the old part,
Yeah. I get that too. It's probably for me too. All that said, some of the songs, they have a recent album called Time, Tequila, and Therapy. Yeah. And they have one called Time, Tequila, and Therapy. Was a little hard on me. Put them all in a blender. And the song that I truly love is No Hard Feelings, No Bad Vibes. I can honestly say that it's good to see a little happiness in your eyes. And I go through that, and I know a couple of guys who are great songwriters, and y'all too. And what I was thinking, that's my joke. But my point being, how does that work? I mean, is there a crew of guys in the back that are writing great songs like this, and they come hand them up to these guys because they're good looking and young? Or splainerate me, buddy. Splainerate me.
Are you talking about how to get a song to an artist, Dennis? Is that what you're talking about?
Not just how to get a song. How does it get to an artist? I guess is what I'm actually asking.
Well, I'll let you go. There's a. I'm in Nashville writing every day trying to get songs, and I've got a little help because I work for a publishing company. But, and we may have talked about this before, Dennis, but for me, it's who you know. And if you know an artist, that's the best thing possible. If you write with an artist, that's the shortcut because, if they're getting ready to cut an album and you've written with the artist themselves, and I really don't mean this to go the wrong way, but honestly, sometimes the artist will choose a song that they're a writer on, even if another song is on their desk that's better.
Really?
Part of that is business, and part of that is just we're all
ego.
We all like our own stuff, but there's all sorts of interesting ways and accidents. And Brent's got a Brent's got a great story about, and I think he told it on stage maybe that night about Retired that we wrote together that Ray Stevens recorded. In fact, he's got two great stories. I'll let you talk. Tell Dennis and the audience about how Retired got to Ray Stevens.
Yeah, and it's funny. I wanted to say I was going to bring up the fact that both of y'all have recorded with Ray Stevens, and truly they were great songs. Once again, I'm sorry, and let me put a peg on the board that I want to come back around to, because after y'all left, Diane, my lovely wife, had a million questions, and I did too, and she was like, "Well, how do they know what the top 40 is anymore? How do you know what nobody buys albums or records anymore? They download or whatever." That said, put that one on the wall. Brent, let me come back to you. What about Ray Stevens? How did you connect with him?
First of all, let me say about that, I don't listen to radio, and I live at the beach, and I don't care what's on the radio. When I write, I just write what I know, with Bill and anybody else. And so I don't really, when I lived in Nashville, I watched the charts, and I listened to the jukebox and to see what was being written. But I'm pretty lazy now. I just live at the beach, and I let Bill do all the heavy lifting. Yeah. So Bill and I wrote Retired.
It's gotten to the point of it's write songs and drag Brent.
It is
pretty much.
It's like Bill say, "I'm coming down. We're going to write some songs." I go, "Oh crap," But then we write. It's fun.
Who wants to work? Who wants to work?
Yeah, I could be at the beach right now, or having lunch, or early happy hour. What would be wrong with that? There's no sin in that.
Yeah, none in that.
So Bill and I finished this song. As we finished it, I said it would be really cool if Ray Stevens would sing a duet with me on this. And Bill, being as smart like he is, said, "Why don't you call him and ask him?" Well, obviously I didn't have his cell phone number.
You didn't have it on your phone?
No.
But we, again, back to knowing people. A mutual friend, a guy was real good friends with Ray Stevens, named Harry Warner. He's passed and a wonderful guy. And he really liked me and my music. And so I imposed upon Harry. I called him and said, "We got this song. And I think it would be cool as a duet with Ray." And of course, Ray Stevens had nothing to gain from singing with me on a record, except for he knew Harry.
Nobody has anything to gain singing with him on a record.
No. I thought everybody puts a check in there. Look, lifelong achievements, sang with Brent Barnes. I mean, come on, right?
It doesn't really, although he's had some celebrities sing with him for some reason. Alcohol may have been involved, I'm not sure, but there have been a few celebrities have sung with him on his records.
I'm going to go to the bathroom and let Bill talk.
Whoa. Let me come back to this. They willingly sang with him, or did they even know Bill was on the ball? Were they in the same room, or was this consensual?
We're getting off track a little bit, but I've been able to, through some of we help each other, and through some of my connections, there's been a couple of songs where I thought, it'd be cool. People that I know, that have helped him. Linda Davis is one that came to mind on a really funny song, I think, that we wrote called "Resistible." I'm so resistible. And she played the girl pretty much telling him that, and it's really a funny cut. So that's kind of the way that happened. But I want him to finish how Ray got the song here.
So Harry, I called Harry, and Harry said, "Well, I'm going to see him on Friday. Get me a copy of it." So I get Harry Warner, who's a great guy, the copy of the song, just a rough copy, and he took it up there, and Ray Stevens called me and says, "I heard you want to record this with me." I said, "Yes, sir." and so I went up there and we recorded it, and it was just fun because I've been a Ray Stevens fan since I was a kid, and of course comedy writing as we do a lot of, not all, but he's one of the guys,
Yeah, he was the man.
You get to record with him. Of course, he recorded on one of his CDs and did it on his radio show on RFD, and it was a great experience. He couldn't have been nicer to me and to Bill for some reason.
Yeah. So that's kind of how that got to him. But I also wanted to tell you the other story, Dennis, about the Cletus T. Judd cut we got together. "I'm Going Ugly Early Tonight," which has been a boon for the two of us, because the song is just, it makes people laugh everywhere you go, and that they're going to laugh when they hear the little double surprise at the end of the song. But we had written that song, and we, after, when you play out it in front of audiences, you find out pretty quick if the song is funny or not. Their reaction will tell you after 3 or 4 or 5 times. You kind of know what you've got or you don't have. And with Going Ugly Early, it was loud laughter the first time I did, and I know it's the same for Brent too. But this is a different way of how a song gets to an artist that Brent had happened.
So I was on Big D and Bubba's radio show. It's a syndicated radio show. I was recording
in Nashville.
Recording in Nashville.
Was that a mistake too? I mean, did they know you were on the page?
Obviously.
Can you edit Bill out of this?
I can. Hang on, I'm putting the.
I'll call you later. Yeah, how would I do that? So I'm on Big D and Bubba's show. And
they couldn't get the racing pigs on from the Wilson County Fair that day, so they took Brent
instead. And then they made me sing while riding on a pig with a small saddle. But it was a challenge with holding the guitar, you know, to keep your balance, you know.
You're just that good.
But I love pigs, so
yes, you do. It's well documented.
Yeah, it's been have fondness for years. So I'm on. Would you shut up?
Big D and Bubba. Big D.
I don't mean to hog the interview. But
yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Well, Suey to you too. Oh, yeah. He is in Arkansas, by the way.
I know.
That's saying I'm pandering to his audience.
I know.
Suey.
Yeah.
So so anyway, enough pig jokes for one day. Anyway, survive. Anyway, So anyway, I did the song on the show, and I was driving
live, right?
Live, yeah. And somebody from Cleus T. Judge people heard it, or he heard it, and I got a call from his people and said, Cleus wants to know if he can record that song. This is like the same day I'm leaving, I think. And I said, nah, I'm a little busy right now. I'm on a throw. Can he call you back later? Okay,
He's lying.
I said, okay. And so he did it, and they sold 195,000 copies, and they paid Bill and I on time. And in the business, that's nice. That's nice.
That is nice.
Mailbox money.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways it gets there. And to go back to your other point, because our lives are a little different, because Brent's telling the truth. He's on the beach, and his musical life is different than mine right now, because I'm still in that grind of writing songs every day and trying to get cut. So for me personally, and Brent did that when he was in Nashville and was young, it's almost necessary that you pay attention to the charts. And I do. I don't listen to a lot of commercial radio, but what I will do every week or every other week is I'll pull up the charts. And if I have not heard the song, I'll pull it up and find it on YouTube, and I'll listen to at least 20 or 30 seconds, so that I'm kind of in the mindset of, here's what's selling now, this groove, this kind of thing, because it changes all the time, so you got to keep up if you want to get a cut, I think, from the artists that are on the charts right now.
Well, how do they know what the charts are? As Diane said, nobody buys an album anymore, or for 45 or whatever. They obviously will download it, or there's watches or on YouTube, or there's listens on Spotify.
Hey, Dennis, did you just say 45s?
Yeah, 45. I'm that old.
I was going to say, you just dated yourself.
I way dated myself. I way dated myself.
The big hole, right?
Yeah, the big O. I actually was thinking about Kathy Mattea, 334578, which is one of her songs from back in the 90s. Fabulous song. And it never remotely even made the charts, but it was talking about how, me and the old time records, me and the freeform radio, me and the travel agent, we're all just relics like that. Well, I get it, but we still want to know. I mean, Bill, how do they make the charts these days?
Well, it's based on sales. I mean, which is, pretty much the way it's been all along. It used to be, way back in the day, when you're talking vinyl, like you are in 45 RPMs, when I was spinning 45s, a lot of even little 1,000 watt radio stations had their own individual charts, and they would actually play a request if you called the disc jockey. That's right. Long gone. That's just long gone. And again, it's just a matter of keeping up with times. It's business, and you have to realize that commercial radio, which is where Carrie Underwood is played, which is where Kenny Chesney, the current big artists, Zach Brown, you name them, Lady A, that it's now a completely different world. It's a completely different sound, and it's a completely different demographic target. 25 to 54 is almost passe in country radio. It's more like 18 to 34. So when you consider that, oh yeah, they're going for the younger demographics because they can sell more ads, and that's where it's at. And people listen to the radio at that age. When you get to be in our age bracket, when you turn on whatever the commercial radio station is in your town, if you're at a certain age, they're not playing the songs that you love, because that was a long while ago. Haggard and Cash, those guys aren't, it's moved on. So we don't tend to want to listen to commercial radio because we don't like it as much as the stuff that we grew up listening to. It's all about what the 18 to 34 year olds like right now. That's what drives. It's not you and me. It's them. It's that they're playing to. So you have to keep that in mind, and you got to remember those kids that are at the top of the charts. Not all of them. Some of them still have a love for traditional country music that I love. Some, but for the most part, man, these are kids that grew up with electronic music and rap music, and were influenced by the boy bands, and so that reflects into the 18 to 34 demographic with whatever you consider to be country music these days. So
I see a lot of boy band feeling from Bill when we write together. He's
I
got
bet,
that persona.
Everybody. Yeah. I can see y'all. Yeah, I can see y'all doing that. Yeah. No.
We're sort of like a Dan plus Shay without hair. Pretty much. That's us. Yes.
I
Bill
actually
plus Brent,
I actually saw Dan and Shay 15 years ago at the what's the one off Broadway in Nashville, the horse, I can't remember
the Wild Horse.
Yeah, the Wild Horse. Yeah. And that's a classic example. That was 15 years ago. They weren't famous then at all.
Amazing.
And let me come back around to that real quick. I wanted to kind of bring up those demographics. By the way, I do live in a hole, 334578, because just down the lake from me is the radio station. I'll go and fill in, and we'll do the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 o'clock Scotty and Polly show. And for an hour, we take requests for anything. We actually, and this is just an inside, you know how there's secrets in the radio station, Bill, you know how there is. Well, the secret in the radio station is that the owner had to come in one day and say, "Quit playing My Ding-a-Ling Every Day" by Chuck Berry. Okay, just stop it, because the guy was calling it in every day. So all that said, I mean, it is relatively freeform radio like that. You literally can call in and have them, and that's just unheard of. Well, when we were growing up, that's what you lived for. That I remember calling one time, and I asked one of the pop stations in town to play something by the Commodores or something, and they were like, "Oh, call the other station," blah 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 blah, and I'm like, it wasn't that they couldn't or didn't, that just wasn't their genre. And I'm like, okay.
What you have to remember in a commercial station, again, though, what you're doing is different. I mean, you can, with podcasting and with being able to do your own thing, you can build your own audience. And the goal there is obviously to find enough followers that like what you like or what you're doing so that you can sustain it. When you're in commercial radio and you've got advertisers and you're trying to win in the ratings game, which is a tough business, you're trying to appeal to what most of the people want to hear most of the time, which is where the complaint comes in from people that listen to radio. God, it sounds like you play the same dang song well, yeah, they are. And on purpose, because the listening span of a listener anymore is like 15 minutes on the drive to work or the drive home, and they have a short attention span. So the radio station's job is to give them a little weather, maybe give them the top news thing, give them a laugh if you can, if it's personality driven, and give them a song that they're not going to punch the button off and go to another station because they're unfamiliar with that song. When people they want to hear the songs that they love, and that's not a brand new song that they've never heard before. So all of that goes into the balance of radio playlist and how they make those determinations. And with requests, I get that too. What you're doing is a luxury, and because of the digital age we live in, we can do that now on individual shows. But for a commercial radio station, you're hanging yourself, because the listener that calls in and goes, "Hey, will you play, play Red Savine and Phantom 309," and you're on a commercial radio station, my standard answer is, I always try to be nice to people, is go, "Okay, I'll try to get to it." That was always that was always, but you can't play that obviously, because that song, the only person that might like that song would be the person that called it in. And radio is trying to appeal to a mass audience. So you can't do songs that are just that specific for
well, because, and I get your event, because you're talking about a 15-minute window of events. Well, if that song happens in that 15-minute window, the odds of you going, "Wow, I really like that song. That's a great old song. I need to hear that." This is KVRE, just down the radio station, 92.9, just down the way. And I'm in a mixed world. I'm in a mixed world where I do podcast stuff with Spotify and with all the big formats. But at the same time, I walk down to KVRE, and it's literally a walk back in time, because number one, you can play anything. Tom, literally, no exaggeration, yesterday morning, Tom, who is the owner of the station, showed up at about 10:25. He's usually there at 10:15, but they delivered his hay late. I'm not making this up. They delivered the hay.
I love that.
And they brought it in. They were supposed to be there at 9 at night, and they got there at midnight, and they bucked the last bale at 3 a.m. And then he came in late getting ready. And when he came in late getting ready, they played Take Me Back to Tulsa, I'm Too Young to Marry. Now, last time you heard that song, and you know, the funny point you bring up is that the music that we brought up listening to, you know, that we love so much. Well, you got to go to classic or country to hear that now. You know,
either that or you got to go to XM or something like that, where they have specific little narrow genre too. So,
well, you're
if I go get beer while you talk radio.
I'm pretty sure everything you ever hear my voice on is pretty much everything you ever hear my voice on is I'm going to go get a beer while you're talking some. Diane and I have made a list, and I'll give you an inside skinny here. Diane and I have made a list of songs. I'm making a fun country hour that we'll be doing at KVRE. And we made a list of songs, and we had a preponderance of a problem here. Finally, Diane said, you know, these are funny songs and they're fun and all that and everything, but what if somebody doesn't drink? Because every one of them, you know, every one of the songs seem to have some reference to drink. And I'm like,
you can't write too many drinking songs. We were just talking about that, actually.
Well, it's either they know someone who drinks, or they used to drink too much, usually, if they're not drinking.
One of the two. One of the two. Well, let's catch up with you guys. You're in Orange Beach right now.
Gulf Shores.
Sorry. At least 300 yards away. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
So are we going to be at Lulu's tonight? What are we doing? What's going on?
I start back at Lulu's on the 5th of September.
So you do work. It's just not much, is what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah. And actually, I've been on the road a lot this summer, but I take large chunks of time off. But I'm pretty busy the next, we're going to Europe in less than 2 weeks, and I'm flying to Ohio next Saturday for just a one-nighter. And then I come back for 3 days. We fly to Munich, Germany to go on a Danube River cruise, and then get back, and I fly to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a one-nighter. So I'm pretty busy, not working a lot in town until September. So, you know, I'm working, but I'm not working as hard as I used to, and I don't want to, you know.
Sure. Bill, what's your schedule? Where are you going to head to?
Well, I'm down. Brent's working on a new album, so that's why I'm down here. We actually just finished the song this morning, so we're doing a little writing. And the minute I finish up here, I'm going over to Pensacola for a girl that's really talented named Jessie Ritter, and I'm going to write with her this afternoon. And then Saturday, Brent and I will be back in Pensacola doing a song together for a series called Concerts on the Canal, which is right on the water there, which will be great. And then Sunday, I've got a comedy show over in Mobile, Alabama, with a comedian that I know here. So that's my schedule for the weekend before I get back to Nashville.
What are you doing, a comedy show on Sunday?
Yes. Which is why I didn't.
Do I need to come?
No,
I need to come along. I think to help you out.
That's exactly why I didn't take it. You know, it's a comedy show.
It's comedy. You're not invited, Brent. What's the problem, buddy?
Yeah, he'll wish I was about halfway through the show when he's not getting any laughs. You know?
Hey, listen. Another thought that hit me that I wanted to cover up, and I know you both. We've all got to run here in a minute. Thanks for squeezing me in, guys. Really. But I was going to say, I remembered hearing Chris Jensen. It can buy me a boat. You know, and he's got a lot of great double entendres. You know, you take it to the bank. You're the bank by the river, and I mean, just dozens of these great songs that way.
Yeah.
And he really hit me. You can learn a lot by little bitty clips that people say. He hit me just right between the eyes on one thing he said one time. He said, "I really don't care who's getting the writing credit these days. I've got enough money. I'm fine." And I love to write with people and have a great time and make a great song. And I thought, now there's somebody who's reached a little altruism at the top of the speak, because, you know, part of it's ego, part of it's income, because I mean, it turns into dollars, right? This is what keeps you guys in beer support, as I understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's our song, Beer Support, right there.
Yeah.
Hey, I wrote that part. Part.
Yeah, I know. Everybody wants to get in the show.
Well, they do. Well, some of there's just been such maybe I've just discovered them. Who was the girl? Is it Allison? My best ex ever. My best worst ex ever.
I don't think I've heard that.
Oh man, I've got to send it to you. Oh, he took the watch that she gave her and shot it with a rifle, and he's my best worst ex ever.
Yeah,
and it's a couple of girls singing it. With the other one, You Ain't Dolly and You Ain't Porter. Now that's a funny one.
I love that song.
Oh, I love that song. I mean, there's just so many really great songs.
That's Blake Shelton and Ashley Monroe, I think.
It is. He says You Ain't Dolly. She's a little bit bigger. And she said, well, you ain't Porter. He's a little taller. Anyway, it's a very, very cute song.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you guys the best. Well, hopefully we can come back around and say hi again soon.
Hey, Dennis, I want to take this opportunity, and I know Brent does too. I just want to thank you and Larry Wilson and the staff and the sound people there. It was really just first class, the concert we played, and they just made it easy for us, and we're appreciative of that. And certainly thank you to the, gosh, what was it, almost 500 strong that came out. And from our point of view, sitting on those stools looking out, it was just, it's always a joy when you look out and see songs land, and when you see people laugh like they did so much at our show. It was just really a great concert experience. And I know Brent wants to say thank you.
And
too.
I think everybody, and it was helpful that I've been drinking, that I didn't heavily.
You were funnier. You were funnier.
True. That was reasonably sober. No, I really was. But afterwards, I had a couple of cocktails. I did.
Yeah, well, but
no, it was a great audience.
The I'm going ugly early tonight shirts, it looked like you were selling them like hotcakes. The CDs were flying. But it's one thing to, like you say, have a joke land. It's one thing to have the song hit. It's another thing that at the end the people can't get enough. They're like, oh, if you had another 5 songs, we would. Oh, that was just fantastic.
Yeah, and what we love about working, as you saw, Dennis, as you're seeing right now, what we love about working together is, I'm pretty convinced sometimes that we wouldn't have to play 2 songs in a 2.5-hour show. We could just do this, and people would be entertained. It's a little additional bonus to just the songs that you get. So
it is, and nothing for me, and Diane and I were talking about this too. We've been to concerts where they played the hits, they played the songs you wanted to play, and it was absolutely pristine silence in between the songs. And 2, 3.
Yeah.
And they go back to playing, and I'm like, whoa. How did, and I think one of the masters at this, and you guys know this too, but one of the masters at this is James Taylor. He's coming out of the studio at Apple Studios, which is, if anybody knows, that's the Beatles studio, He comes down the hallway and he meets Carole King. And Carole King said, hey, I got this song I'm going to record. You might like it. It's called Fire and Rain. You might like that song. He's like, oh, that sounds pretty nice. She said, well, he said, I was just showing it to Ringo, and he said it sounded pretty good, but, maybe you want to cut it first. And he said, I cut that song then, and little did I know that when I sang that song then, I would sing it every night for the rest of my natural life.
Yep.
Because, who wants to see James Taylor and not hear Fire and Rain or Shower the People or whatever? Yep. And it's one of those magic moments that you don't know is going to affect your life for the next 40 years in this case.
Well, think about Billy Ray Cyrus having to sing Achy Breaky Heart every single concert. And you'd think, and that's of course, I think you're just grateful if you ever get a hit. If you're lucky enough to have a big hit, you should be grateful. And he was. There's a great story a radio program director told me about. A bunch of radio program directors went into Nashville, and they got invited to spend an afternoon with Billy Ray out at his estate. And he put all these program directors on 4-wheelers, and they went out 4-wheeling to see the property. And they pulled up to like a big cliff overlooking this massive property, much like the view over your shoulder there, Dennis, which was beautiful. And they just sat there looking at it. And finally, one of the program directors turned to Billy and said, Billy, tell me the truth. Do you still like singing that song, or do you hate singing that song? And they said Billy just looked at him and spread his arms out and goes, it got me this. So,
yeah. We've got, one of the, one of the comedy tour guys, not Bill Engvall, not
Larry the Cable Guy?
No, not Larry, and not the other one. The
Tater Salad or Jeff or
I'm sorry, who's the other? It's not Jeff, so it's the only other one left. Ron Whyte. He had the classic example one time in his show. He said, I really like you people. He said, y'all have bought me a nice house with a lot of nice landscaping, and it's lovely, And he said he's got trees down the drive, and it's really nice. Said y'all love it. Y'all love it if you ever came there, And he said, but we had this one dead tree, and he said he talked to the groundskeeper, and he said, this one dead tree's dead. And he said, no, it's not dormant. He said, you just peel back the bark, and he said, you can see it's alive. Ron said, let me tell you what I'm looking for in a tree. I want to see leaves, and I don't want it to be dormant. Let me tell you what I'm looking for in a freaking tree, okay? I want it to be. Anyway, classic line. Guys, thanks for the thanks. And literally, let's see if there's a way we can work together, come back around. Thanks for answering the questions. Thanks for being in Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Bill Simpson, Bill Whyte, my dog, and Brent.
Hey, the dog's home. The dog's home.
The dog's home. I can start drinking.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. See y'all soon.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.